Okay, let's just dive right in. I want you to imagine this for a second. You sink your entire life savings, every single penny, into what you think is your dream home. A big Victorian house in a quiet, charming little English village called Stewkbury.
You're desperate for a fresh start.
Exactly. But the house, it doesn't give you a fresh start. It serves up a nightmare that's been festering for decades. That is the chilling scenario at the heart of the sources we're unpacking today. And these documents, they chart a true crime story so complex, it reads like some kind of multi-generational thriller.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to really meticulously unravel the anatomy of this discovery at 45 High Street, a property that the media, quite horrifically, started calling the Babes in the Attic case.
And we need to do more than just read the police reports here.
We have to trace the chronology, starting from what was meant to be this hopeful, simple renovation, and then follow the thread, see how that one act exposed not just historic homicides, but this profound familial betrayal, identity theft, and, the chilling continuation of a really dark legacy.
So the story really kicks off in 2018 with a couple, Mia and Finn. And they kind of represent that quintessential modern struggle, right? Just trying to get a foothold on the property ladder.
Totally. They buy this 5-bedroom, detached Victorian house at auction, which right off the bat feels like a massive, almost reckless gamble.
They hadn't even been inside.
Not even once. They hadn't stepped foot in the building before bidding on it, and they used every single last reserve they had. It was a complete all-in commitment.
It sounds like a decision driven more by desperation than anything else.
It was, frankly. The sources confirmed the financial strain was just immense. Their life savings were gone, which left them incredibly vulnerable from day one. And the goal, really, was to escape the suffocating presence of Finn's parents, Dave and Debbie.
The controlling parents.
Very controlling. But the house itself, it offered no comfort at all. It had been empty for over 40 years. The sources note that the moment they killed the engine outside, the silence was just heavy, deeply ominous.
And Mia felt it immediately.
She did. She admitted to feeling this nauseous dread right from the start, a primal feeling that just wouldn't leave her whenever she was near the property.
Even Finn, who was supposed to be the pragmatic one, he's a plumber, a handyman, he's used to roughing things. Even he couldn't shake this feeling.
He had a gut feeling they'd made a huge mistake. He was immediately calculating all the work needed and just realizing it would take years of relentless graft to make the place even barely livable.
And the conditions were just awful. Overgrown garden, boarded up windows.
And you're tiptoeing across weak floorboards, always terrified you're going to fall straight through into the basement. That initial sense of foreboding was, entirely rational given the state of the building.
But there was more to it than just disrepair.
Oh, absolutely. Details went beyond that. During that first dark, unsettling walkthrough, they found an empty bedroom with a hook screwed into the ceiling and a rope attached to it.
Looking like a noose.
It looked exactly like a noose. And Finn, trying to be practical, just dismisses it. Kids having a laugh, he says. But the tension was there. The house was already signaling that it held these deep, dark memories.
And Finn's mother, Debbie, she hated the whole idea.
Hated it. She seemed to resent it intensely, believing Mia was deliberately dragging her son into what she saw as a financial and structural disaster.
So that's the setup. A young couple stretched to the absolute breaking point, trapped between an overbearing mother and a derelict house that seems determined to fight them every single step of the way.
So let's jump forward 2 months. They're deep into the renovation, it's all dust and grime, and they're dealing with major, major setbacks.
Yeah, a leaky water tank collapses the bathroom ceiling. Then a massive storm comes through and takes out the top half of the chimney. This was just hard, relentless work.
They had to cancel vacations, cut back on everything, just this state of perpetual financial anxiety.
And they were focusing on phase 1, as they called it. The lounge, the kitchen, and critically, the nursery, because Mia was pregnant. And this is where the house really starts to give up its secrets.
It's where it starts to talk, as one of the sources puts it. Mia, in all this chaos, she spots something in the nursery. A dark, ominous sign. It's a message, etched into the skirting board, almost hidden under layers of old varnish.
And Finn, trying to keep things calm, just dismisses it.
He does, true to form. He either can't handle any more stress, or he's trying to shield Mia, and he just says it's graffiti left by some kids.
But Mia couldn't let it go.
No. She's pregnant. She's highly anxious. She's already living under this cloud of dread. She has an intuition. So she forces Finn to go investigate the attic. She's just convinced something is wrong up there.
And at first, they find nothing.
Nothing but frustration. Two big old packing cases, but they just have moldering wallpaper and old paint rolls inside.
Yeah.
And that's the moment Mia said she felt completely foolish.
Right, because Debbie, Finn's mom, was there helping.
And just adding to the anxiety. But just as Finn is about to leave, ready to scold Mia, her powerful construction torch, it catches something. A small, odd, almost imperceptible gap near the roofline, tucked away behind a beam.
This wasn't just some storage nook.
No, the sources are clear.
Yeah.
This was a small, deliberately hidden room. They had to actually demolish part of the wall just to see inside.
And the moment they broke through, what did they see? What was that first horrifying reveal?
The sight was instantly, profoundly disturbing. They saw 7 rectangular objects standing on their sides, arranged on the floor in this distinct V formation.
Like a morbid flock of geese.
That's exactly how it was described. 7 identical suitcases. And the sources are very specific about the make. An expensive, high-quality, old-fashioned brand portmanteau, and each one was embossed with a single letter P.
And the clothes.
In front of each suitcase, a small, neat pile of vacuum-sealed children's clothing, all ready to be paired with whatever was in the bag.
The sheer organization of it. It's not a dumping ground, it's a ritual.
Absolutely. It's storage, it's preservation, it's almost like a trophy room. And the realization just hits Finn so hard, he picks up one of the bags. And the weight, the density, he knows instantly it's not clothes.
That moment when he opens the first one must have been just indelible for them.
It was. He opens the first suitcase, and they're confronted by this large, solid lump of something dark brown or black. It takes them a horrifying second or two to realize what it is.
Hair.
Hair, still attached to a small, distinct human skull. The mummified remains of a child. The smell of decay was there, but it wasn't overpowering because of the mummification and the sealed bags, which only made the whole scene feel more clinical and more horrifying.
And the physical and emotional cost of this was immediate, and it was catastrophic for Mia.
It truly was. The profound shock of seeing that skull, combined with all the stress, the financial, the physical, the emotional, it causes her to lose her footing completely.
She falls.
She falls backwards all the way down the narrow loft ladder. She hits her wrist, then lands heavily on the floor below.
And the injuries were severe.
Oh yeah. 2 broken ribs, significant bruising to her spine and head, and multiple fractures in her wrist that required immediate surgery.
But the most critical, life-altering consequence was the trauma to her pregnancy.
Which necessitated an immediate emergency C-section. Their son, Sonny, was born premature at only 3 pounds 8 ounces. It's just an unbelievably brutal, traumatic entry into the world for him and into motherhood for her.
He only survived because of the surgery, right?
Yes. The traumatic fall is what forced the intervention that saved his life. And Debbie, Finn's mother, was at the hospital and with this chilling lack of empathy, noted that Mia was lucky the surgeon saved their grandson.
Seemingly blaming Mia for the fall.
Completely. It was a comment Mia never forgot. A tiny indicator that Debbie's focus was always on her son and grandson, never on Mia's suffering. Hashtag tag 1.2, the police investigation and scope of the crime.
So this discovery, it immediately throws 45 High Street into the national spotlight. The police arrive, and Detective Superintendent Adebayo Okafor holds a press conference.
And he confirms the immediate horrifying facts. 7 sets of human remains found in the attic.
And they quickly establish a timeline.
Right. All 7 victims, 3 male, 4 female, were determined to be children who died deliberately. And the time frame they gave was between the late 1970s and the early 1980s. This immediately designates the house as the center of a historical, high-profile murder investigation.
For Mia and Finn, this is just devastating. Their family liaison officer, Detective Sergeant Mark Goodwin, he has to deliver some really painful news.
A painful financial reality check. Goodwin tells them the house is now a comprehensive crime scene for the long haul. He's talking months, potentially, given the magnitude of what they're dealing with.
So their investment is literally being torn apart.
Piece by piece, the police investigation that follows is just relentless and incredibly invasive. They bring in structural engineers, endoscopic cameras. They're drilling holes everywhere, perforating the brand new plasterboard and floorboards, searching for more remains.
And this forces them back into the exact situation they were trying to escape.
Exactly. Living in the annex with Finn's parents. They are completely trapped, financially crippled, living under the roof of the very people they wanted to get away from while their dream home is systematically destroyed.
And as if 7 bodies in the attic weren't enough to seal the house's dark legacy, the garden eventually gives up even more secrets.
That's right. During the exhaustive search of the property, 2 more bodies are unearthed in the garden. And the autopsy reports later confirmed these are the remains of two adults, one male, one female, estimated to be between 65 and 85 years old.
And this discovery, it provides a kind of deep, dark historical foundation for the attic finds.
It does. And what's fascinating or, profoundly disturbing is the specific forensic detail on these two adult victims.
They were both missing their skulls.
Both missing their skulls, and very specifically the upper 5 cervical vertebrae. This suggests something far beyond a simple hasty burial. The examiner concluded the death was traumatic, likely from a sharp force injury, like a knife attack.
And removing the skull like that, it points to something ritualistic, a trophy.
It points to someone with anatomical knowledge or, yes, a chilling ritualistic act of trophy-taking. This level of precise mutilation shows an intent beyond just killing and disposing of a body.
And this immediately suggests a link to the former residents of 45 High Street, the people who lived there when the attic murders likely began.
The people who, as the police noted, had disappeared quite suddenly back in the 1970s. So the scope of the crimes at this one property had now escalated to 9 historic victims, 7 children, 2 adults, transforming the house from a renovation project into a generational mausoleum. So the police investigation just drags on for months, and it creates this pressure cooker environment in the annex. Finn, the pragmatic plumber, he's compartmentalizing. He's focusing on holding his little family together.
But Mia is a different story.
A completely different story. She's recovered from this traumatic birth. She's suffering intensely from postnatal depression, from PTSD, and she just plunges into this dark investigative obsession.
Trauma is haunting her.
Constantly. The sources say the sound of suitcase latches haunted her sleep. She swore she could smell the decay in the air around her. The classic trauma response. But it's blending with this genuine, desperate need to know.
She can't just sit and wait for the police to figure it out.
No. She starts studying serial killers, Fred and Rosemary West, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. She's trying to get inside the mind, to grasp the motivation behind what happened in her attic. It's partly a way for her to try and control the trauma that's just overwhelmed her.
And this internal struggle, it turns into external action. She starts connecting with the victims' families.
Almost seeking a sense of personal closure that the slow pace of the investigation couldn't give her. She learns one victim was a boy named Frankie Holmes who vanished in 1977. And she realizes his sister, Lorna Holmes, was someone she knew from university.
So that makes it personal.
It solidifies that personal link to the horror. And then she attends the funeral of Abigail Douglas, another identified attic victim. She's pushing herself deeper and deeper into the grief of these strangers.
And it's at Abigail Douglas's wake that Mia meets Jasmine Johnson, the mother of Precious Johnson. This is where it all starts to connect back to Finn's family.
This is the crucial connection. Jasmine reveals that her daughter, Precious, had been in the exact same school class as Abigail. Precious also vanished around the same time, but she was found days later by the side of a road with just catastrophic injuries.
Head trauma, broken bones.
A broken leg, broken pelvis. She suffered permanent brain damage from what was officially called a hit and run. She was never able to speak again, never able to say what happened to her.
And Mia, connecting the dots, realizes her father-in-law, Dave, was also in that exact same school class.
A huge structural shift in the narrative. She confronts Dave, asks him why he never mentioned knowing one of the victims and the girl who was so badly injured. And his response is immediate and very evasive.
He tries to downplay it.
Completely. He admits knowing them, but says he barely knew them. His excuse is so flimsy. He insists he was rarely at school because he was getting into trouble with older lads. And he shows no interest at all in how Precious is doing now, decades later.
Which Mia finds deeply suspicious.
Her intuition is just screaming at her. Fueled by the trauma and all her research, she knows he's lying. She knows he's actively hiding something significant about his past and his connection to the Stukebury victims. Hashtag 2.2, the warehouse and the suicide.
But Dave's deception wasn't just about the past. The deceit in that household was layered. Mia soon uncovers this major financial and personal betrayal involving Finn.
Yeah, she learns that Dave, who was desperate for money and under this intense personal stress, was the anonymous source who tipped off the press about Finn's brief affair with Emma and Chloe.
And the headline was brutal.
It was. Babe's an attic husband is a secret love cheat. And Dave was paid £7,000 for that tip.
Which is an absolute pittance compared to the damage it did.
And his rationale for the betrayal. I mean, it's almost as twisted as the murders themselves. It's purely self-preservation.
Mm.
Dave's goal was to divert the intense public and police attention away from himself and his family's connection to the victims.
So he threw his own son under the bus.
He knew a massive scandal about his son would occupy the media. It proved he was willing to sacrifice Finn's marriage and his reputation to protect his own, much darker secret.
And it's clear at this point that Dave is just disintegrating under the pressure. His health is failing.
He was a physical wreck. He was suffering from this severe, gnawing stomach pain, which he had tragically self-diagnosed as terminal stomach cancer.
He didn't tell Debbie.
No, he chose to hide it from her. Didn't want her to watch him suffer, decided he wouldn't go through months of treatment. He was secretly hiding prescription painkillers in their drinks cabinet under a Polish name, Antoni Kowalski, and he was drinking heavily to cope.
And the terrible irony of it all
is that the autopsy later revealed he was only suffering from a treatable stomach ulcer, not cancer. His panic led to a fatal misdiagnosis and ultimately his suicide.
So Mia, now totally convinced of Dave's guilt, she uses these small clues, some old invoices she found in his garage for leather and luxury travel imports, to track down a storage location.
She finds this distant remote warehouse. So isolated the postcode was obsolete, Google Street View didn't even register it. It was clearly chosen for its seclusion.
And inside,
using her phone light, she illuminates this vast, dark interior, and she discovers her worst fears amplified 40 times over. 40 more suitcases, identical in every way to the ones in her attic portmanteau brand, embossed P lined up neatly on industrial shelving.
And in front of each one,
those same small, neat piles of vacuum-packed children's clothing and shoes.
40 more victims. So with the 7 from the attic, that's 47 children. But just as she opens the first case in the warehouse, she hears Dave's voice.
He tracked her there. And the warehouse, it was built before modern regulations, so there's only one exit. She's cornered. She tries to flee. She even throws her phone to distract him, and he actually strikes her. She hits her head. It's bleeding. His desperation is just palpable.
And in this state of intense pain, he delivers his final fragmented confession. And we have to listen really closely to the nuance here.
We do. He claims involvement in the 70s and 80s murders, but he emphatically stresses a crucial distinction. He says, I need you to know that I am sorry for everything. But he repeats over and over that he never hurt a child.
He also says some very cryptic things.
Right. One person's death can mean another person's rebirth, and that his final act is so Finn and Debbie can start again. He gives Mia his phone, tells her to call the police, says it'll take them 15 minutes to arrive. He's orchestrating his own death while giving her the means to capture the killer.
And then the final horrific act, with Mia as the sole witness.
He takes the hunting knife she recognized from his garage wall, a knife he clearly kept ready for this exact purpose, and he slits his own throat, dying by suicide right in front of her.
The police arrive 15 minutes later, and the warehouse becomes this massive new crime scene. But D.S. Goodwin, he remained deeply troubled by all this.
He was. Dave's confession felt like a distraction, not a full admission, and his suspicions were spot on. Why were the bodies so neatly stored, yet the warehouse left unsecured? And why deny the killing but admit to the crime?
He was trying to compartmentalize his role.
Exactly. The analysis suggests he was the logistical support, the cleaner, the one who stored the evidence. He was the dutiful accessory, which allowed him to maintain the psychological defense that he never hurt the children, meaning he wasn't the one who performed the physical act of killing. He sacrificed himself to take the fall for the true, prolific killer.
And this is where the story just completely shifts. It goes from Dave, the apparent serial killer, to Mia, the relentless investigator, unearthing this family legacy of just monumental deceit.
And it's Dave's cryptic last words. I let Debbie keep the baby she always wanted. They keep nagging at Mia. It just doesn't fit the narrative of a simple suicide and confession.
It's the key that unlocks everything else.
It is. That phrase, combined with the DNA test results, leads Mia to the staggering realization that Finn was not Dave and Debbie's biological son. She had quietly, methodically, taken sample stubble from Dave's razor, hairs from Debbie's wardrobe, to confirm her suspicions.
And the results were conclusive.
Zero probability of paternity for both Dave and Debbie. It shocked Finn to his absolute core.
And Mia, using the research skills she'd sharpened over months of obsession, she quickly puts forward this theory that Finn is actually William Brown.
And it ties everything together. William Brown was a 1-month-old boy who disappeared with his 4-year-old sister Tanya back in 1990.
And Tanya's body had just been identified as one of the 40 victims in Dave's warehouse.
Correct. But William's body was never found among the remains. And Mia's theory was compelling. Finn had dark hair and dark eyes, features neither Dave nor Debbie had. And Finn and William were both exactly 1 month old when William disappeared. It was a perfect match for stolen identity.
The baby was taken to replace the child Debbie and Dave never had.
That was the theory. But it needed confirmation. And the ultimate confirmation came, shockingly, from the killer herself.
Through the diaries.
Yes. Finn discovers these diaries hidden in the house. The cover suggests they belong to Dave, but he opens them and sees they're filled with his mother's distinct handwriting using her middle initial, DRH, Deborah Ruth Hunter.
And these diaries, they detailed these trips Debbie took, trips that Dave had always said were for a struggling construction business.
But in horrifying reality, they were meticulous records of surveillance, meetings, and abductions. And this revealed the jaw-dropping, terrifying truth. Debbie, the seemingly fragile protective mother and widow, was the true, prolific killer. Dave had just been her devoted accessory.
He managed the logistics, he cleaned up the violence, and he sacrificed himself in the end to protect her.
Exactly. Hashtag tag 3.2, Debbie's history, motives, and brother.
If we look at Debbie, her motive wasn't just simple, isolated madness. Her roots in this were generational. This was a horrifying family enterprise.
She was a third-generation killer. The cycle started long before her. She admitted that her own parents, the former residents of 45 High Street, whose bodies were found skull-less in the garden, were killed by her grandparents.
When Debbie was only 14.
Yes, out of necessity, she said. She witnessed this violent event. And that instantly explains the 2 adult bodies in the garden. They were her own parents, victims of the older generation, setting the stage for Debbie to normalize extreme violence.
And her childhood was corrupted by her parents' actions even before that.
Oh, absolutely. She and her older brother, George, were coerced by their father into bringing other children home to play. And this wasn't innocent. Their father would signal his approval of a child by offering them cola.
If they took the cola, they were marked.
They were marked. One incident involved a boy named Martin Hamilton, who was carried away after falling asleep at the table and was never seen again. Debbie's mother even kept video recordings of the gruesome act.
And that level of horror is what led her brother, George, to flee.
It did. George ran away when he was 14 after witnessing the murder of Martin Hamilton and seeing those sinister videos. He wanted nothing more to do with the family. Dave drove George to a train station and warned him never to return, assuring him their mother would kill him if he ever did. George just erased himself from their lives for decades.
So if we come back to Debbie, how did she rationalize her own killings? All 47 victims. She wasn't seeking punishment, was she?
No. Her motive was this twisted, highly personalized idea of salvation. She claimed to kill to save children from futures of neglect or abuse. She believed she was delivering them to a better world. Her methods were incredibly organized, using property apps and maps to select locations, traveling across counties, blending in.
And she manipulated Dave for decades.
Exploiting his profound guilt over the hit and run that permanently injured Precious Johnson.
Right, Dave was involved in that, and Debbie used it as leverage.
It was perfect blackmail. Dave's fear of exposure, the thought of his role in crippling an innocent girl becoming public, that was the chain Debbie used to bind him to her. It kept him quiet, kept him compliant, kept him serving as her accessory, all to keep her secret safe.
And the stolen child, William Brown, who became Finn, he was the ultimate manifestation of her obsessive desires.
Debbie confessed in her diaries that she abducted William herself. She described seeing the harassed young mother, the unwashed, stain-covered 4-year-old sister Tanya. Debbie killed Tanya, William's biological sister, and then wrote, "I did what I went there to do, and then I drove home with my new baby son."
She just used a fake birth certificate.
Passed him off as Finn Hunter. Dave initially disapproved, shouting at her that she had stolen him, but he was paralyzed by fear and guilt. He couldn't live without Debbie, and he feared her rage, so he agreed to raise William as Finn.
And George, Debbie's brother who ran away, he eventually reemerged, right?
He did. He spent decades estranged, working on a farm, then moved to a remote Norwegian island. But years after the attic discovery, George secretly reunited with Debbie. And when Mia's postnatal depression and PTSD got really severe, Debbie, always the controller, used George to hide Sonny away, renaming him Andreas, determined to keep her grandson safe. Hashtag tag 3.3, the final betrayal and aftermath.
So the stage is set for this final tragic confrontation. Finn, now knowing he's William Brown, the son of the woman who murdered his biological sister, He confronts Debbie about everything,
The years of lies, the stolen identity, her attempts to sabotage his relationship with Mia.
including sending Mia to his old girlfriend's house during her investigation.
Right. And Debbie is becoming increasingly unstable. She's also losing her physical capabilities due to primary lateral sclerosis, a form of motor neuron disease, which is being exacerbated by all the stress. She's losing mobility. She's desperate.
But even then, she's still trying to protect Dave's memory.
Still claiming Dave was only protecting her from being linked to the original attic murders. When Finn, who now identifies fully as William, rejects her completely, she just lashes out with this chilling threat to his new family, Sonny, Mia, Emma, and Chloe. She says, "In being kind to Sonny, I had to be cruel to them."
She couldn't bear losing her stolen son.
No. And the sources show the profound and horrifying psychological impact all this generational violence had on Finn. Raised by a killer, having witnessed his adoptive father's violent suicide, he transitions from victim to perpetrator.
He embraces the dark family tradition he spent his life rejecting. Finn, or William, tracks his recently rediscovered Uncle George down to that remote Norwegian island where George was hiding Sonny.
And George, who'd been trying to escape the cycle his whole life, he becomes Finn's first victim.
The method Finn chooses is shockingly deliberate and final.
During a boat trip, he drowns George and meticulously ties rocks to his limbs to make sure the body sinks and the death looks like an accident. The sources are graphic. They note that Finn admitted George briefly regained consciousness during the attack, but his pleas were unintelligible. Finn just tossed his uncle overboard,
cementing his entry into the family's violent legacy. And after that, the true killer saga finally ends.
Debbie is arrested. She pleads guilty on grounds of insanity due to her deteriorating state and is sent to a secure psychiatric unit. Finn successfully retrieves Sonny, who they initially keep calling Andreas, and follows expert advice to take small, non-pressured steps to rebuild trust.
But the horrifying cycle of violence doesn't end there. The final pages of the source material confirm that Finn, now William, is continuing the family legacy in secret.
He believes he's protecting his family through violence, just as Debbie did. 2 years later, he admits to killing again. His first solo kill on home territory was Aaliyah Anderson, a persistent freelance journalist who wouldn't leave his family alone.
He drowned her and, echoing his mother's ritual, filled a new suitcase with her body.
And the sources confirm he now keeps a dozen or so empty portmanteau suitcases recovered from the warehouse in a rented storage unit.
He didn't just inherit the habit, he inherited the tools of the trade. He's already filled 2 of them, George and Aaliyah Anderson. And what's maybe even more disturbing is his attempt to involve his own son, Sonny, now 3, in this inherited darkness.
He brings Sonny to the rented storage unit, and there he shows the 3-year-old child human skulls found hidden in boxes in his parents' garage skulls belonging to previous victims.
He lies to Sonny, says they belong to bad people.
While encouraging his fascination, his sense of power over them, he sees this horrifying act as teaching Sonny how to be his own man, to follow his own path, and to protect himself from anything that threatens to interfere with that.
He's become the mirror image of the people who warped him. #outro.
So if we connect this to the bigger generational picture, the final tally of this family's hidden crimes is it's shocking, immense. 7 children in the attic, 2 adults in the garden, Debbie's parents, 40 children in the warehouse, plus the murders of the journalist Aaliyah Anderson and Debbie's brother George.
A confirmed total of 51 known victims linked back to this one family enterprise that all started at 45 High Street. And the house itself, stained by all this violence, is finally set for demolition. It's going to become a pocket park, a small patch of green meant to erase the memory.
So what does this all mean for the legacy? Debbie, the true prolific killer, is locked away, but her biological son, William Brown, who was raised as Finn Hunter, has now fully adopted the very methods of violence and deceit that defined his childhood.
He killed his uncle and the journalist, and he rationalized it all under the same twisted motivation of protecting his family, the exact same motivation Debbie used to justify every one of her horrific acts.
The irony is profound and deeply disturbing. William, or Finn, he fiercely rejects the manipulation of his adoptive mother, yet he immediately begins manipulating his own son, Sonny, by showing him human skulls and filling those new portmanteau suitcases.
He genuinely believes he is teaching Sonny how to be strong and protective. But the actions, the drowning, the hidden bodies, the lie about the skulls keeping the killer's tools, they mirror the precise dark tradition he was supposedly rescued from. It makes him the 4th generation to participate in this murderous family enterprise.
Yeah, the source notes, Finn believes he is teaching Sonny how to be his own man, to follow his own path, and to protect himself from anything that threatens to interfere with that. But considering the secrets he's already keeping, the murdered uncle, the skulls, the new filled suitcases, this raises a really important question.
Can he truly break the cycle of violence and deceit that his biological and adoptive parents imposed on him? Or has he just personalized and updated the family's dark, murderous tradition?
The chilling reality is that the house, the physical incubator of all these crimes, it'll be gone, replaced by a park, a symbol of innocence. But the essential psychological darkness has been passed to a new generation. When Sonny inevitably learns the truth about the man he calls Daddy, the man who showed him skulls and now secretly stores bodies in suitcases, the potential for that cycle to continue remains terrifyingly high.
The nightmare of 45 High Street might be over, but the Hunter Brown legacy has simply moved into a rental storage unit. A deeply disturbing thought to end on, but one that is entirely grounded in the extensive material we unpacked today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.